I'm going to begin at the beginning with Genesis, with the first chapter of Genesis. And Genesis means beginnings in Greek. So I begin this sermon at the beginning of the beginning. Maybe you've heard this story before. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. In the Torah, God's very first act was to create the light of day and then name the darkness night. God creates time first, before oceans or land or animals or trees or people. Time emerges from the divine. Other myths also place time at the sacred center of the cosmos. In Mexico, the Aztecs put their creation story on a circular calendar, dividing days up among different divine forces. The Aztecs embedded the story into time and time into the story. In Egyptian myth, the sun god Ra travels every day through the 12 provinces, creating daytime and then dying at sunset. Ra brings light to the world every day. Ra exists to bring time alive. None of us believe these stories are true with a capital T, or even true with a lowercase t. But every creation story captures something true about our existence. That truth is that time is as central, as sacred, and as holy as the oceans, as the animals, as the stars, the humans. As Christian theologian Augustine of Hippo wrote, "The world was not made in time, but together with time." John Archibald Wheeler, who was a theoretical physicist at Princeton, who hung out with Albert Einstein and taught Richard Feynman, would agree. Wheeler, who nicely also helped to found the Unitarian Church in Princeton in the 1950s, understood time in a similar mythic way, but with really rigorous experiments to support his ideas. Explain time, he said, not without explaining existence. Explain existence, not without explaining time. I was sitting in a lobby recently waiting for an appointment when two people stopped nearby me. "I was hoping to get a second of your time," said one person. "Do you have a moment?" "I will make time for you," replied the second. I will make time for you. For English speakers, the language of time makes it seem malleable and elastic and alive with possibility. We speak of wasting time, freezing time, carving time out, even killing time. We save it, we spend it. We can't stop time, but we savor our free time. Prisoners do time, athletes call time, exam takers run out of time, the bus arrives just in time. Time flies when you're having fun. Occasionally, we feel like we have all the time in the world, and then spare time to boot. We hit the big time, it's all just a matter of time. And sometimes, we have time on our hands. Think about that. I have a little time on my hands. What might that look like? What would it feel like to touch time, to cradle it in our hands, to feel it on our fingertips? All of these phrases convey a sense of humanity engaging in godlike behavior, as if time were physically alive and controlled by human beings. Like those foundational myths, our language reminds us again and again that time is created. Our language makes us many gods in charge of time. Just think about the possibilities that would exist if that were true. Ask yourself, what would you do with more time? Ask yourself, can you imagine time on your hands? Not an easy request, especially in this holiday-rich time. In the Catholic liturgical calendar, most of the year is called ordinary time. Today, if we were Catholic, we would move into something called extraordinary time, also known as the Advent season. December is out of the ordinary. As we live in this season of Advent, a time of waiting and hopeful expectation, maybe we can pause and breathe and open ourselves to experiencing time as more expansive. Or not. Maybe you feel frayed at the edges, like there's too much, so much to do. Our society bombards us with stimulus and so many responsibilities. My children learned time management skills in middle school. I'm pretty sure I was a grown-up working in an office before I ever heard that phrase. But we're supposed to be able to juggle, to manage our time wisely, be effective, get things done. As the Sandy Dennis song that Brian Baker played says, who knows where the time goes? Instead of having time on our hands, it feels like it is slipping through our fingers. Daily living provides us with so much to do. Fix the bathroom leak, put up the twinkly lights, drive the kids to soccer practice, pay the bills, make lunch for 150 hungry church members, wrap Christmas presents, and on and on and on. It's easy to get trapped and see time only as schedules and calendars and getting things done. Time becomes something to be managed and endured, not as a part of our spiritual existence, not as a part of a sacred rhythm. We forget myths and focus on Google calendars. As Katie sang, time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. Our possibilities narrow to what we can cross off our never-ending to-do lists. Let me be clear, I love Google calendars. I have a lot of them. But our focus on schedules can trap us in places we don't want to be. Calendars and schedules encourage us to think of time as linear. Time marches on, ever forward, never back. Nothing stops the hands of time. A quick check in the mirror confirms that in a general sense. Wrinkles mark every moment. Birthdays return like clockwork. The poet Mary Oliver once wrote, "Time is draining from the clock, and your walk that was confident and quick has become slow." So every day we get a little older, a little more creaky, and yes, maybe a little wiser. Again, who knows where the time goes? Time and life are short-lived. It doesn't last forever. That is linear time, the flow of time in predictable sequence. But we all know that time is not just linear, what the Greeks called chronos. There are moments when time stretches out before us, or stops, All of us have stories of time behaving weirdly, what the Greeks called kairos. When we talk about these moments, time feels tangible. Chronos versus kairos is the ordinary versus the extraordinary, the desert versus the oasis, the mundane versus the sacred. I bet everyone here has said at some point, I remember it like it was yesterday. Those indelible moments that seem to exist out of time. I can remember the weight of my newborn twins in my arms like it was yesterday. I still see them through that strange hospital lighting, remember that weird hospital smell, feel the amazement of that moment. Think of such a time. Can you remember an experience so vividly that it feels like yesterday? I'm serious. I would like y'all to try to vision a moment that was so vivid that you can remember it. Let's sit together for a moment. Cast your mind to an experience in the past that brought you joy, that saw you surrounded by friends, that made you feel completely alive. Together, we just time traveled. We went on a brief but sacred journey in our own time, time that we created. And in those few moments, maybe time warped and slowed. What may have happened 50 years ago seemed like it was yesterday. We all have this gift, this blessing. Revisiting time connects us to deep memories, connects us to moments, allows us to relive what mattered most to us. So we know that there are wrinkles in time, to quote author Madeleine L'Engle, wrinkles we put in the fabric of time. We also know that time slows down and speeds up. People are very fond of telling new parents, the days are long, but the years are short. The days are long, but the years are short. True. One of those newborn twins is now a 6'3", 20-year-old sitting in the pew. Where did the time go? Spend time with a loved one in the hospital, and ordinary time seems to fade away. We lose track of the minutes and the hours, maybe even the days. We walk outside and we're stunned to find the light is gone. Concentration and immersion can also blur time, speed it up. Maybe you've enjoyed a talk with a close friend where you look up in the clock and you think, oh my goodness, is that really the time? It feels like we just sat down. Music also creates time travel, wrinkles time. My children were in elementary school when they discovered Green Day, so hearing Katie sing one of their songs transports me right back to those days. Maybe you have a song that takes you to a specific moment in time. In our daily rush in thinking of time only as linear progression, we forget these truths. We forget that time is alive, that we bring it into being, that it moves unevenly, that it sometimes circles back on itself. Sometimes these moments are a gift, sometimes not. But with practice, we can create new kinds of time. Practice is key. Even the divine needed 7 days to get it right. Coming to church is one way to practice. Holding a Sabbath expands our possibilities for transformation. Because as the Reverend Gretchen Haley reminds us, we practice holding space for our lives just as they are, to believe we matter this much. Reverend Haley is asking us to pause, to set aside time for being aware, to set aside time for rest. Sabbath, a ritualized time to engage the holy on the calendar. Can we deliberately designate a time to be sacred? Aye. That's what we're doing right now. So glad that you're here. We can also pay attention to how we engage with time, make different choices with our time, opt out of busyness. Reverend Tricia Hershey, who runs the NAP ministry, proclaims that people need to rest, not to get ready for the next activity or to prepare for a tough day at work, but because rest itself is holy and worthy. Hershey is writing for a Black audience and especially for Black women, but her message resonates. We need not be defined by our productivity, she says. The measure of our worth doesn't come from doing more. Taking time to just be is an act of resistance in a world that celebrates grind culture. To be honest, it doesn't always work. Yes, time is sacred and holy, but as Reverend Haley reminded us, even now our bodies are making plans and our anxious hearts have begun preparing to leave. Finding focus takes effort. Not every Sunday morning is full of the Spirit moving in and through us. That's okay. It's only a matter of time. I encourage you to keep coming back to church, but can you also find other tiny moments in your day to make time? When I first started coming to UUCB, I remember the Reverend Bill Hamilton Holloway explaining that making oatmeal was a spiritual practice for him, a way he made time for spiritual practice. The first time I heard this, I did not understand what Reverend Bill was talking about. Oatmeal? Oatmeal? Now I understand a little better. Reverend Bill took time every morning to slow down, to pay attention, to focus on sustaining himself and those he loved physically and spiritually. Reverend Bill understood that anything could be part of the holy moment. Time became kairos when Reverend Bill made oatmeal. Can you enter a sacred time when you're washing the dog? Or putting away groceries? Or any of the other small, daily, mundane tasks that you do? If we practice allowing the second-by-second unfolding of time to be holy, our lives can be transformed. Moments that take us out of linear time create new possibilities and encourage our spiritual growth. Time is part of creation, part of the constant unfolding of the holy universe rather than a mere container, a schedule, a calendar. As Ursula K. Le Guin wrote, time is being, and being time. It is all one thing. So again, ask yourself, can you imagine time on your hands? As Unitarian Universalists, many of us regard our daily lived experiences, how we conduct our lives now in this human time, as the ultimate meaning of life. We're not waiting for the afterlife. Everything is holy now. This is the time. Think of the possibilities that would emerge if you could only make time. And then remember that you can. You can make time. Holy time. So what are you waiting for? Invoke your inner deity. Make time for the holy. Find a little time on your hands. May it be so. Amen.